Hello, welcome to our RecapPlus channel with me, Matthew. Today we will watch a recap movie called Kills on Wheels, released in 2016. This is a spoiler content video. So please turn on the subtitle and let's start the story. The movie tells the story of Rupasov, a feared assassin in his days, and a young man named Zalika. Rupasov has been forced to use a wheelchair for 3 years now due to his disabilities. Meanwhile, having been born with a disability, Zalika has had to use a wheelchair all his life. Zalika now shares a dorm room with Barba, his best friend. Zalika enjoys drawing comics in his spare time, and his work is impressive. The boys reside in a special institution for the disabled. Here, the residents are cared for and monitored, but they have much more space than one might think. The institution's rooms are nothing like those of a hospital. Zalika and Barba are not separated even for a second. They draw comics together and help each other. They face difficulties together and have fun. One day, Barba shows up in the room with a fire extinguisher and tells him he stole it. Zalika likes it a lot, and the friends go outside to try the object. The fun is interrupted when Rupasov, from the same institution, shows up in the alley. He asks for a light, and Barba kindly gives him his lighter but tells him that smoking is not allowed here. The man is about to leave when he suddenly slaps Zalika. Rupasov reveals that he is also a former fireman. He recounts that he has pulled the bodies of small children from burning buildings several times and instructs them to put the fire extinguisher back where they got it. Afterward, the man turns and leaves, but Zalika is offended by his behavior. He reaches the attacker and tries to hit him. Rupasov, however, proves to be much stronger, and soon Zalika finds himself on the ground. After calming down, the protagonist walks away to empty his urinal into the sewer grate. Rupasov quickly realizes that he has gone too far. After apologizing, the man invites the two young men to grab some drinks, where Zalika and Barba seem to be having the time of their lives. The boys are shocked at the number of drinks their new friend orders. They ask him if he is a dealer, but Rupasov laughs and wonders how such a thing could have occurred to him. He admits that he would need a little help with his work, such as the services of a driver. Barba happily agrees, adding that he also has a car. Soon after, Zalika lies down on the sofa, and Rupasov asks what's the matter. Barba replies that his friend has a bad back, but the protagonist is unsympathetic, saying that his back always hurts too, he just needs to feel less sorry for himself. In reality, Rupasov doesn't yet know how serious Zalika's health problems are. Rupasov proposes to them to make a career as assassins and promises them worldly pleasures, similar to those they experienced at the party today. A few days later, Zalika is in the hospital for surgery. But finally, he refuses because the operation was paid for by his father, who had abandoned him since birth after learning that he was born with a malformation. The scene shifts to Rupasov, who receives a mission from his boss. Rupasov waits for his prey in a deserted parking lot. A car approaches and stops near him. Several men get out of the vehicle and approach him. One of them threatens Rupasov with a knife and plunges it into his leg, but he feels no pain. Rupasov declares that he has not felt anything in his legs for years because of his disability, eliciting derisive laughter from his targets. One of them then kicks Rupasov. He coughs and pulls a plastic bag out of his pocket. It turns out there is a gun in the plastic, which Rupasov uses to shoot his targets, one after another until they all die. Following the incident, an ambulance arrived at the scene. Dr. Zita, a female physician, attends to Rupasov's thigh wound, and it appears that the two strike up a conversation. Rupasov harbors romantic feelings for her and expresses his desire to take her to the movies later. Unfortunately, she declines his invitation, revealing that she is engaged. Shattered, he contemplates throwing himself off the steps of a pedestrian bridge, yet destiny intervenes to prevent such a drastic action. As Rupasov recovers, he resumes his former life. Upon receiving his paycheck from his employer, he is instructed to keep his work secret and avoid interactions with others. During this period, Zalika and Barba frequently lend him a helping hand. A few days later, Rupasov encounters Zalika in the hospital during leg rehabilitation. He advises Zalika to cease helping him and terminate their meetings, but Zalika refuses, expressing his intention to continue working with him. In a determined stance, Zalika rejects the money offered by his father, despite his mother's persistent attempts at persuasion. Later, Rupasov waits for Zita outside the hospital after completing leg training. He contemplates presenting her with a bouquet of roses but abandons the idea upon seeing her with her boyfriend. Subsequently, Rupasov is tasked with assassinating an official, strategizing to carry out the mission during the official's lunch at a restaurant by the highway. While waiting on the opposite side of the road, Zalika and Barba secure the situation. Rupasov successfully executes the mission with the aid of pigeons and a crowd of bystanders, maintaining a low profile. In a chance encounter on a bus, Rupasov receives an invitation to Zita's wedding. Unbeknownst to him, his boss closely monitors his actions. When the boss discovers Rupasov's breach of rules, he subjects him to a severe beating. Given a final opportunity to redeem himself, Rupasov is assigned the task of assassinating Zalika and Barba. The following day, Rupasov, Zalika, and Barba embark on a fishing trip to a lake. Despite traversing prairies to reach their destination, the trio arrives at the lake and begins fishing. Barba, ecstatic about a potential catch, seeks assistance, but Rupasov callously pushes him into the water. He then tosses Zalika into the river with the intent of abandoning them. Overwhelmed by guilt, he rescues them from the water, passing off the incident as a joke. For the first time, Rupasov fails to complete a mission. Upon returning from the lake, he invites his friends to a party at his house, sharing his feelings for Zita. Eager to assist, the friends decide to help him win her over. The next day, 3 friends support Rupasov, signaling that he can stand without the wheelchair. He awaits Zita's return from the hospital, only to discover she is absent. A few days later, Rupasov receives orders to assassinate a drug dealer, with the promise of double pay. Agreeing to the mission under the condition that it will be his last, he strangely secures his boss's approval. Accompanied by Zalika and Barba, he heads to the target's house, leaving them in the car as he carries out his assignment. Before entering the house, the guards thoroughly searched Rupasov but found nothing alarming, such as a gun or cutting weapons. The guards then escort him to meet their boss at the residence, assuming everything is under control. Rupasov initiates his actions when he confronts the drug dealer. He retrieves a pistol hidden in the foam cushions of the wheelchair and begins shooting at the guards inside the residence, albeit missing his aim. Instead of escaping, the target seizes the gun, leading to a shootout with Rupasov. Despite his body no longer being in its prime, Rupasov, with his body covered in wounds and clothes stained with blood, demonstrates his superior experience with firearms due to his history as a hitman. He manages to eliminate everyone and complete his task before fleeing the area. Upon reaching the gate, he hears police sirens in the distance but fails to open the locked gate. Zalika and Barba, terrified in the car, witness the scene. Zalika takes the initiative to halt the police car while Barba assists Rupasov in leaving the house, and they escape together. Rupasov then approaches his supervisor to claim payment for his work. In an unusual twist, the boss accompanies him somewhere, and they arrive at a deserted warehouse. Observing a dangling rope, Rupasov senses that something is amiss with his boss's behavior. The supervisor is evidently aware of Rupasov's deceit and betrayal of trust. In a fit of rage, the boss wraps the reins around Rupasov's neck and pushes his wheelchair. In a desperate attempt to free himself from suffocation, Rupasov struggles to loosen the rope, using his legs on the ground. Despite trying to reach his wheelchair, all efforts prove futile. Eventually, the rope is finally loosened, allowing him to survive. Returning home, Rupasov promptly gathers his comrades to organize revenge against the leader who has crossed the line. After a few days, Zalika and Barba join Rupasov at Zita's wedding. Dressed elegantly in a white coat with carefully tied hair, Rupasov showcases his singing skills, earning praise from many, including Zita, who burst into tears. Rupasov then kisses Zita, eliciting envy from her husband. Post-party, Zita's husband and his friends attack Rupasov for what he did to his wife. Zalika intervenes, threatening Zita's husband with a gun and removing Rupasov from the scene. Over the next 3 days, Rupasov meticulously plans his revenge against his criminal boss. Accompanied by Zalika, they visit the boss's hideout, entering openly while Barba lurks outside. Rupasov demands payment for the last mission, which the boss refuses, threatening to release his dogs to attack them. Rupasov then draws his gun and shoots a fire extinguisher on the table next to the crime boss. Due to this, the dogs scatter in fear. The boss swiftly shoots them until the gun falls to the ground. Subsequently, he stabs Rupasov with a knife multiple times. Zalika seizes a gun but refrains from helping his comrade, allowing the boss to deliver fatal blows. After Rupasov succumbs to his injuries, Zalika takes matters into his own hands and eliminates the boss. He empties the safe, planning to use the money for his leg operation. And so concludes the tale of the wheelchair killer. The twist unfolds when it is revealed that the entire episode involving Rupasov is a fictional scenario from Zalika's comic strip. Zalika, in fact, created a fictional character named Rupasov, resembling his father and sharing a disability with him. Despite never meeting his father, Zalika keeps a picture of him, resembling Rupasov, and is inspired to craft a comic book featuring him and his father. Surprisingly, the comic book gained immense popularity, becoming a major success with publishers. As a sentimental gesture, Zalika presents his father with a copy of Rupasov's comic book as a keepsake. To watch more video like this, click on the videos on your screen, and don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. And at last I will say, stay safe and stay healthy. See you next videos.